And I spent time in a lot of very desperate situations. I visited this one slum just outside of Phnom Penh in Cambodia.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get to Cambodia, you know that you're in a very impoverished country that is surviving a genocide just a couple decades before.
Yeah.
And we went to this one village, and 1.5 to 2 million Vietnamese refugees live on the water. And by government records, these people don't exist.
At all.
1.5 to 2 million people don't exist. And I don't know if you've traveled a lot, but poverty has a very distinct smell.
Yes.
Anywhere you go in the world, poverty smells the same. And so as soon as you approach the slum, you can smell it right away. And these people live in these tiny little bamboo tied together floating houses that rise and fall with the water. And the water is absolutely disgusting. It's this awful brown color. If you have to use the bathroom, you stick your butt outside the side of your little bamboo house.
Exactly.
And that's where you go. And if you want cooking water, you use the same water.
You
want to shower, you use the same water. That's how it works.
Yeah.
And these people have now lived there for a couple generations. And now the water is so toxic that the fish that they used to fish off of to survive is now disappearing.
Yeah.
And so as we went through this little village on these little river boats, visiting the different homes, there was this eerie feeling because there was something else that was clearly missing from the village. And I didn't see a single girl child over the age of 10 or 11.
Really? Wow.
We met with this one family. It was a mother and father and 4 daughters. And their 3 daughters were there. Their names were Flower and Pink, and then the youngest one was Beauty. That was their English translations of their Cambodian names.
Are you Cambodian?
I'm not. My father was born and raised in Singapore. My grandfather was from China, and I was born here.
Okay.
And so we met with this one family and said, "Where's your oldest daughter?" And the mother couldn't say anything. She looked away, and the father took a moment and paused. And then he looked up at my dad, who had asked him the question. And he said, "She's gone to the city to work for an aunt."
Wow.
And so we all know what that means. We all know that because of the situation so overwhelming, the poverty that they live in, this family has been forced to sell their oldest daughter to a brothel so that the younger 3 have a chance at living.
Wow. This is a regular occurrence in places like that.
It is.
How?
But it doesn't just happen in Thailand or Cambodia or Moldova or Western Africa. It happens in Canada and the United States as well.
How do you think the father felt telling you that?
I can't even imagine what that feels like.
What did you see? What did you see from his eyes?
Desperation. You know, my dad went there. We did this trip together, and he asked him, "Well, what are your dreams for your little girls? You know, father to father."
Yeah.
And he just said, "I want them to get a good English education and be happy."
What's your relationship like with your father?
We're very close.
Yeah.
He's a rock of mine. He's my anchor when things seem overwhelming in life. And it was amazing to take that trip with him, and especially because, you know, Thailand is known as a land without fathers.
Yes.
And
land without boundaries.
Yeah. Anything goes.
Yeah.
And so I think for him to be there, and everything that we did there was centered around ending human trafficking. For him to be there with his daughter.
Yes.
And to see the ages of many of the girls. We went undercover into brothels as well.
Oh, did you?
We did.
Nice. So did you do a documentary on that?
We were filming a documentary as well.
Nice.
And so a lot of the girls were my age or younger.
Okay.
And then here is my dad, you know, sitting there and seeing his girls.
Yeah, exactly.
In these other girls' stories. You know, we met with this one other one. He met with them. And then we went with a friend who is the CEO and founder of an anti-human trafficking organization called Traffic Jam.
Traffic Jam.
And then with the filmmaker as well for this documentary that'll be coming out. And these three men, my dad and these other 2 guys, went into this one brothel in Pattaya, Thailand.
Okay. And
I have a lot of friends that are anti-human trafficking activists, just as myself. And you go to red light district after red light district through Thailand, and you don't think it could get any worse. And then you go to Pattaya, and it's worse.
In what way?
This is a city that does not exist for any reason other than sex tourism. There is nothing else
Really?
there at all.
Wow.
It's the only
And it keeps
reason.
alive
And
on
it keeps
that.
alive. And prostitution is technically illegal in Thailand. But there's no other reason that this city survives. And so we went into this, you go down the main red light district called Walking Street. They say it's the entertainment district, but it's really just the red light district.
Yeah.
And there's this one entire section that is fully European women. And you gotta wonder, why are there European women in Thailand?
Thailand. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we went into this one place, these 3 men that were part of our team.
Mm.
And they asked for girls from Moldova because Moldova, part of Eastern Europe,
Mhm.
really struggles with human trafficking.
Yeah, they had another story on a girl that came
Huge.
from Moldova. Yeah.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge, unimaginable, countless stories
Yeah.
of countless individuals that have been exploited. And so we met with these 3 individuals. They asked for girls from Moldova, and within a few minutes there were 3 girls, one for each of them. They sat down at the table, and the music is blaring, and you can feel the bass and the red lights everywhere, and and so they sit down. They bought them drinks, and the girls wanted the most expensive tea on
The menu.
the menu because they have a debt to pay.
Yeah.
And they'll get it in any way that they can.
Yeah.
And so they sit there, and the CEO from Traffic Jam, he had been to Moldova because they do a lot of work there, and she knew the city, that they knew the cities that she was from. She said, "This is where I'm from," and he goes, "Oh, I know that," and he starts naming off the different places and her cities, and right away her eyes light up. He knows my home, and she just starts sharing all kinds of stories. She was originally from Moldova, accepted a normal working job in Moscow,
Oh,
and she ends up in Turkey.
in Turkey. Yeah. Yeah.
Spends 3 months in Turkey, and they're literally breaking her in. Breaking her in to the point that she has gone under so much violence, abuse, and rape, and humiliation that she won't say no, she won't run away, she's absolutely degraded, and she's fearful for her life.
Wow.
And then when they met her in Pattaya, she had only been in Thailand for 5 days.
So did you guys concentrate on getting her out, or was this just about making her story public?
Part about making her story public, part of the problem is you want to rescue these people, but especially in so many countries like this, you have to make sure that it's done properly.
Yes.
And that it's done right, because it can be more dangerous to them. And if you
And to
don't have
yourself.
and to yourself, and when you're dealing with government corruption, when you're dealing with organized crime, everything has to be handled properly.